is the family system, whether it is joint or nuclear, kind of offers a multi-layered role modeling. And when I'm talking about role modeling, before I pass on the question, I would just want to say that we have two kinds of role models. One are parents, teachers, and contemporaries from whom we kind of identify and we learn from them. And the other side of role models are celebrities, which could be sports stars, politicians. We see one part of their life, we really get attracted by it, and we consider them as our role models, and we want to be like them. We aspire to be like them. So what kind of a role modeling do you think the family system, the joint family system offers, and to what extent is it beneficial?
Okay, so before understanding that, let us try and understand the three-layer principle of nature, nurture, and culture. So what is nature? Something that we have derived at birth, which is like, we are genetically hardwired in a certain way. We carry certain samskaras due to which we are what we are. And apart from that, you have your family, you have your friends, you have your association, due to whom you develop certain traits, and that is called your nurture. And beyond that, there is something called the culture. And of course, I'll come to it at the end. But initially, I would like to address this point where the grandparents can actually play a very important role in the lives of their children and, of course, the younger generation that is in their grandchildren. See, actually, every human being or every living entity is covered by certain, anarthas, due to which they cannot actually come out with the true nature of self or the true nature of the soul, which is called love. So in that case, what happens is they need to take something which is the most ideal and then give it to the children and of course to the next generations, I mean to say. So when we actually pick up such ideologies from the Bhagavad Gita as it is, or there are some Bhagavatam tales for children in which the great celebrities have been described about, the pure devotees of the Lord who have imbibed all the culture, training, tradition, love that Lord has given into themselves, and they can give it to the others. So we can actually take examples of such people. I mean, the grandparents and the parents can actually do that with the children. So you have to read out stories of Dhruva Maharaj or Prahlad. So these are all historical figures because they're all pure. They are pure souls. So you talk about something which is very pure, you automatically become pure. It's like running an iron rod in fire. That also becomes fiery, hot, and red. That's because it gains all the qualities of the fire. Similarly, when you talk about, these characters like Arjun, Lord Krishna, or all these pure devotees from the Srimad Bhagavatam, you can actually inculcate those values yourself and also pass it on to the next generation. So automatically discipline, practice, self-control, all these things will become very, very natural. So for this, I have another story, but I would like you to give your perspective here, Gayatri.
All right. I think, Pranava, I really liked the way you presented it, because when I was saying that we have two kinds of role models, one is the parents, peers, teachers. These are live role models. We get to see them. So we know them through their blacks and whites and grays, right? Because we see them. But for celebrities, it can be very debilitating if you actually get attracted or influenced by a celebrity because we just know one part of their life. The other part of their life cannot be so influential, right? Now we see a lot of young generations getting influenced by these celebrities. So you have beautifully given a replacement, Pranava, which is what I have noticed in your talk, which is instead of identifying with people whom you only partly know, you see some part of their life, you don't know them completely, you can actually indulge in a conversation about God, the different deities that are available to us, and also indulge in a character analysis, the qualities of the trait analysis that you were talking about, and how we can start from our own selves, because as a culture, if you look at our culture, we're all busy shaming the other people. We'll be shaming the government, or we will be shaming someone else. We'll be shaming the individuals. There's a lot of shame and blame game that happens. But when it comes to changing our own selves, there are a lot of excuses that we come up with. It talks about self-control, right? So discipline, self-control, the change begins from self. And what a better way to start off from a family, whether it is a joint family, or it is a nuclear family, or if it is just a single grandparent and a child, if you can just indulge in reading up these stories, understanding the traits and the qualities of these gods or the supreme characters which are mentioned, and we make an analysis. And supposing, say, the parent says that, I have been reading the stories about Rama since my childhood, but still there are certain qualities which I am not able to imbibe, or there are certain qualities which I'm not able to change in myself. So I, as a parent, I'm talking about my failures rather than my successes. So the child also becomes open, right? The child also becomes more accepting of understanding that working on our flaws is a lifelong journey. It is not a 1 month, 1 day, or 1 week, or 1 hour journey. It is a lifelong journey. Secondly, when the grandparents or the parents or the contemporaries of parents, when they are sitting in as a group and when they are reading our own scriptures, it could be Bhagavatam, it could be Bhagavad Gita, it could be all of these, the first important thing which is important is to what extent the grandparents and the parents have the depth of knowledge in our own scriptures to pass on the right kind of information for the next generation. Because trust me, as a psychologist, I would want to reiterate that if you're passing on information, half-baked information to the next generation, trust me, the unlearning process is going to be very difficult. Relearning is a long distance thing. We can't even imagine. So unlearning is going to take them a long time. So it is important for us as grandparents, as parents, to understand what kind of a value system am I imbibing to my children. Is it in line with our Shastras? When I say Shastras, I know many people would question that these things are not relevant in today's generation, but our Shastras are actually established a value system which is tried and tested. So why not hold that as a static or as a constant, and then see if you can imbibe the same value system into your children at their own choice. Like, you're telling them what is right and what is wrong, but how to imbibe it into their lives, you're giving that freedom to the children. So you're defining the boundary on a large scale and then letting them define themselves within that boundary. Isn't that freedom, guys? Just think about it. As I said, we are not here to contradict any of your existing ideologies. We are only here to present our ideologies. Whether you take it, whether you don't take it, I think it is in your choice. That's all we can do.
Yes.
Yeah, Pranava, over to you.
Yeah. So to answer that question of yours, how do the grandparents and parents themselves learn so that they pass it on to the next generations? See, there are wonderful organizations like ISKCON Society for Krishna Consciousness who are teaching us at all levels, to all the people of all sections, rather all sections of the society, like the old people can learn, so also the young adults and middle-aged people and the children, they can all go to these organizations and learn from the Bhagavad Gita, and it is certainly relevant to these times as well. So it is not just for that particular Arjuna who felt really despondent in the midst of the war, who wanted to know whether to kill his relatives or not, those kind of questions that came to Arjuna. So it was not just for him not to answer his confusion alone. It is actually to answer all our confusions, whether to take this path XYZ. There are so many paths in front of us. So many times, oftentimes we get confused on where to go and how to go forward. So for that purpose, it's not just the gross aspects, but it's also talking about the psychological aspect. Because when Lord Krishna is answering questions of Arjuna about how to control the mind, so mind is, like a monkey into whose feet the thorns have gone. Like, just imagine how restless the monkey would feel if that kind of a pain happens to him. He will jump here and there. Already he is a restless fellow. So similarly, our mind is actually very restless, obstinate. It's very chanchala. So Lord Krishna offers certain solutions on how to tame the mind. So it's not just for psychology. It's not just for how to keep your body fit. It's not just, nourishment of the soul. It covers all aspects. And this is for all age groups as well. So we can learn from the masters who are in a bona fide parampara. So they are passing on the knowledge as it is without contaminating it with their own ideologies. So we have to go to such people where we can learn all the concepts and pass it on to generations. Ultimately, this is to help all the generations.
Pranava, adding on to what you have just stated, and a very important trait like discipline. These days we see, I mean, at least I as a clinician with my experience for the last 14 years, I see that a lot of parents come to the session saying that okay, I tell my son or my children that they are supposed to wake up early and get ready for their classes, finish their breakfast, everything before time, but he's often late to the college or often late to the school. How can we address that? And sometimes there are clashes between the parents and the children as to what is right and what is wrong. So I, as a clinician, I always tell my clients that parenting is not about talking. Parenting is not about preaching. You can say umpteen number of things to your children, but what gets imprinted in their mind is what you do. So if I, as a parent, if I am just getting up every day in the morning at the same time, my children also get used to getting up in the same time. If I, as a parent, if I'm limiting the usage of gadgets and I am limiting the usage of my presence on social media, I don't have to tell my children that they have to limit their time on gadgets. Sometimes I say yes to them out of my own convenience. Like if I have to pick up phone call from my friend and I don't want my son or my child to disturb me, I would say yes, you can watch TV for how long ever you want to see, or it's okay, you're permitted, you can be on phone. Here it is more of convenience because I want to be having my time with my friend over the phone. So I have changed the rule. So when I change rules, they will not be able to understand. So family system is again the best possible way, whether it is joint, whether it is nuclear, whether it is single parent and a child. Always children will imbibe things which you do, not what you speak. So whether it is observation without judgment, or whether it is emotions and expressing them in the right way in an assertive manner, I'm not neither being aggressive nor being passive, or whether it is discipline, all of these are observed and learned from parents. And this is why I say that joint family has a multi-layered role modeling. So if at certain qualities I can learn from my parents, certain qualities I don't want to learn from my parents. So there are do's, there are don'ts. Certain qualities I want to learn from my grandparents, again do's. Certain qualities, there are young generation people who say that I don't want to be like my mother, or I don't want to be like my father, or I don't want to be like my grandparents. So yes, you have the choice, but always remember, guys, that life is not about black and white. There is no single person who's completely good and there is no single person who's completely bad. So what am I learning from them? Am I placing people in the grays? Please, that is what even Shastra says, like nobody is complete black and white. Everybody has their gray shades. So am I able to put people in the gray shades? I think the best place is to role model it from the family. Yeah, Pranava, over to you.
Yeah. So while actually learning things, we're also teaching some things to our children. So of course, our gurus or the spiritual masters are always there to guide us, so that the children and we ourselves develop a nice discrimination. And how do we discriminate whether something is good or bad? When we look at it through the Shastra, when you look at it through these real life examples from the scriptures, you'll be able to understand ki, okay, this path is bad for me. So in that case, you don't even have to tell your child that this is bad, don't do this or something like that. In fact, you yourself develop a habit of what to view on the television, what not to view, why not to view, what is better to see, what is better not to go forward. So all this discrimination will happen when we automatically start learning from the Shastra. So that also happens at all levels. Like when our senses, five senses, are engaged properly. See, when there is no proper engagement, automatically the senses will seek for, go for some things which are not really great. So that's how you develop a low order thinking or lower taste. So when you develop a higher taste, automatically you will go for the best. Whether you are being observed by your parents or not, you will do the right thing. So the five senses, for example, what you have to view with the eyes have to be purified. So when you take darshan of the Lord in the temple, why do our parents take us to the temple? To cleanse us, to cleanse our gross senses and also the mind. So the ears get cleansed when we are hearing the Bhagavatam or the Bhagavad Gita, or maybe the shlokas or some nice stories from the Mahabharata or Ramayana. So our senses have to get engaged and cleansed first. And next thing is, our mind also has to be engaged. And for that, you have to do certain services and also chant the holy names of the Lord. when you chant the holy names like Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So it cleanses the mirror of our mind. Okay. And then the third thing is our intelligence. So when we learn from the Shastra again, it will nourish our mind. So for the, the intelligence. So Guru, Sadhu and Shastra are meant to nourish our intelligence. So when the intelligence is strong, the mind will not waver, and nor will the senses seek nonsensical things. So then we know, okay, fine, I need to learn from this person, and from this person I need not learn. I might rather give what I have learned. So you know when to give and when to take, whom to give and whom to take it from.